book of Muhtasar al-Fiqh al-Islami that we're reading from. Something brief. And again, since we're talking about fiqh now, the subject always comes with the differences of opinions and so on, especially in this environment that we live in, because we see differences. People are coming from different backgrounds, and it's important to put things in perspective and not to undermine the people of knowledge or look down upon the people of knowledge, or thinking that since this one shaykh or one alim or one madhab says one thing, that means that's it, that's the ultimate truth, and everything else is wrong. And how can people not follow the truth when the truth is made clear? We have to put things in perspective. In matters of fiqh, the matter is not as easy for a common person to make that decision. And at the same time, not to belittle that there is one truth. Right? Of course, the Muslim, his concern is to follow the truth. As we said before, this is part of our aqidah. Whether it's in matters of fiqh or others, every single Muslim, in his heart, to the best of his ability, he's following the Prophet ﷺ. Not to follow this or that person, he's following the Prophet ﷺ. And for him to do that, he has to ask the people of knowledge, he has to follow the people of knowledge. So that's what he's doing. That means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he fulfilled the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when a person starts seeking the knowledge, then he will get to see that these ulama, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on them, the differences of opinions in matters of fiqh and some of the issues, it's not as simple as the person might think, so that he would immediately rush into judgment against the ulama and so on. That's why, just to have a glimpse of this, Imam al-Akbari in his Usul Fiqh book, when he talked about when a person is discussing a mas'ala, a matter of fiqh, a mas'ala in fiqh, for him to study it in the right way, he has to know his madhab first that he's studying in. He has to know the evidences of this madhab, why this is the ruling, based on what evidences. And then he has to know the madhab of the mukhalifin, the madhab of those who oppose their opinion. Talking about fiqh. And what's their evidences, these madhab, what's their evidences, which is in the opposite opinion. And then number 5, he has to know the al-radd al-mukhalifin. What did the people of his madhab responded to the evidences of those who oppose that opinion. Right? There's another one even extra, like what each madhab answered to the others, those who oppose their opinions. For those who wants to really, this is the level where the ulama, when an alim says this is what he believes is the right thing, this is the bahth, or this is the work that is being done. And that's why the layman or so, he has to follow the ulama. But at the same time, when we follow the ulama, it doesn't mean that we would say all of these others are necessarily wrong or this or that. No, respecting the people of knowledge is very important in this. Right? And what's not good is when people become prejudiced to the madhab. And as we said before, the lay person, he does not have a madhab. His madhab is the madhab of his alim. Right? Because of what criteria he would choose. The madhab is for those who study the fiqh. Those who study the knowledge, of course they have to study through a madhab. The lay person that just wants to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he asks the people of knowledge in his locality, and that's it. And then they follow what is being said to them, as long, and his effort, his ijtihad, is to make sure that he asks the right people. That he has to put the effort to make sure that he asks those who would, to the best of his ability, follow the way of the Prophet. Anyway, so we're in still the masail of fasting. And we stopped where he says حكم نية الصيام, the ruling of the intention of fasting. As it will come that there are 2 pillars of fasting. For fasting to be established, one is the niyyah, the intention, and the second one is to abstain from what breaks the fast. Abstaining from what breaks the fast alone is not sufficient, because if a person does not eat just like that because he's on a diet or he slept all day before Fajr till Maghrib, that person is not fasting. Although he abstained from the things that breaks the fast, but it's not sufficient till he has the niyyah, the intention that he is fasting that day. So when is the niyyah and so on? He says, يجب على المسلم ليحصل على الأجر أن يصوم رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا. When we talk about niyyah, we're talking about two aspects of the niyyah. One is whether the deed is to be accepted or not, when a person is doing the deed sincerely or to show off. This is one aspect of the niyyah. So the Muslim should definitely fast, seeking the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. He fasts the month of Ramadan, iman wa ihtisaban, believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believing in the obligation of Ramadan, and seeking the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. La riya'an wa la sum'ah. Not to show off and not to make people hear that he is fasting. Wa la taqlidan lin-nas, and not to imitate people. Some people, they fast because their environment, everybody's fasting. So he doesn't want to look awkward, so he would fast like everybody else, right? Not as a ibadah. And that's why the very strange thing is that you would find a person doesn't pray, but he fasts, right? But you would never find someone that doesn't fast and pray. You'd never find someone prays 5 times a day, then Ramadan comes, he doesn't like to fast. You would never find that person. Right? Unless he's excused, of course. But you would find the opposite. Some people don't pray, don't care, but they fast. Which shows how the salah, the salah, when a person is making the 5 daily salah, he's more likely to be guarding the rest of the deen, and it becomes easier for him. So the intention, not to just to follow the people, أو متابعة لأهل بلده, or he's just following the people of his town or so. فيصوم لأن الله أمره. So he would fast. The believer, he fasts because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered. And we have to be careful. Some people, when they're asked, as always, why are you fasting? To feed for the poor, right? For us to have more strength, physical strength, and to be in control of our own selves. All of these are wisdom behind fasting, right? Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His wisdom, need fast obligatory for us. But why are you fasting? Right? So when non-Muslims are asking, we're fasting because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to fast. That's why we're fasting. لأن الله عز وجل أمر. يقول لأن الله أمره ويحتسب الأجر عند الله وكذا سائر العبادات. And he has to seek rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the same way with the rest of the ibadat. Sometimes the person would be fast because he wants to lose weight or something. It comes with it. He keeps on pushing on the person. He wants to fast to be more healthy and so on. He should push these things away. He should not stop him from not fasting. He should fast still, and he should seek rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hereafter. And these things comes with it. He does not need to have intentions for it. Right? The intention as an action is only to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this is an act of worship. It's an act of ibadah. So this is what this meaning of intentions is not usually mentioned in the books of fiqh, because this is not what a niyyah with the perspective of fiqh means. The niyyah from the fiqh perspective, this is what he mentioned next. He says, يجب تعيين نية الصوم من الليل قبل طلوع الفجر لصوم رمضان وغيره. ويصح صوم النفل بنية من النهار إن لم يفعل ما يفطر بعد طلوع الفجر. He said it's mandatory that we specify the niyyah of fasting at night time before the Fajr comes for the month of Ramadan. So here this is the niyyah that is a pillar of fasting that makes something permissible and becomes an act of worship. So why a person would abstain from what breaks the fast? Because he's fasting. He's doing this act of siyam or sawm for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This niyyah should be during the night before the Fajr time comes. This is for Ramadan. So for the month of Ramadan, the niyyah has to be before Fajr. And since the niyyah is an act done by the heart, no tongue has share in it whatsoever. So it's not something to be uttered with one's mouth. So it's not nawaitu an asuma Ramadan. There's no such a thing. The niyyah in the heart. If a person says whatever he wants to say and his heart is somewhere else, it's what's in the heart. And saying it with the tongue is bid'ah, is innovation in the deen. So we know when a person, before Ramadan, he knows that he's fasting the next day. And the niyyah, for one niyyah before the month of Ramadan is sufficient, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. From the first day of Ramadan, he has the intention to fast every day, but still the niyyah is present in every night in Ramadan, and this is something every Muslim would have when people fast in the month of Ramadan. They already have the intentions. They don't need to stop and think and focus. No, it's already there in their hearts. That's why they do things. They eat suhoor before they sleep. Sometimes they're afraid, what if I don't wake up for suhoor? So he will drink something, eat something. He knows that the next day is Ramadan, and he knows that he is fasting the next day. So the niyyah is during the night, which is different than sawm al-nafl. Fasting, optional fasting. The niyyah can be during the day. So you have no plans to fast tomorrow as an optional fasting. And Fajr time comes and you're not thinking about fasting. Then after Fajr, in the morning, you didn't eat anything from Fajr, so you think to yourself, let me fast today. So you would have the intentions, I would fast today in your heart. This is valid for the optional fasting only, to siyam al-nafl, and not for the fard fasting. As long as he didn't eat anything after Fajr, and there's an evidence of that from the Prophet ﷺ, he would say, then I'm fasting today, when he doesn't find, when he goes home and there's no food. Or when this happened from an incident at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. But there is an exception here with this intention. قُلْ يَصِحُّ صَوْمُ الْفَرْضِ بِنِيَّةٍ مِنَ النَّهَارِ إِذَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ وُجُوبَهُ بِاللَّيْلِ. It's permissible. When is it permissible to make the siyam or the niyyah of fasting an obligatory fast? During the day. If he didn't know during the night that the next day is a mandatory day to fast. How is that? كَمَا لَوْ قَامَتِ الْبَيِّنَةُ بِالرُّؤْيَةِ فِي أَثْنَاءِ النَّهَارِ. Like what happened sometimes in the first day of Ramadan. People waited at night and there was no ru'yah. Nobody seen the hilal. So they slept. And then after they slept, the ru'yah came. Somebody saw the hilal. Right? So these people wake up at Fajr time, which already at then Fajr and the daytime started, and they get to know that today is Ramadan. Then what should they do? They should fast that day, and they did not make the intentions from the night, they made it from the day. And they didn't eat anything, and their fasting is valid. If they ate something, then they need to make up that they ate, as it will come. Although there's some said that, okay, this is a detailed one. If a person woke up in the morning and he got to know that today is Ramadan, and he was not aware of that, and he already had breakfast, they all agreed that he should abstain from eating and drinking to the end of the day. Ramadan, he has to stop eating and he fasted at the end of the day. Some said that he has to make up the day because he ate in the morning, and some said no, because he did know. Right? So to be on the safe side, make up the day anyway, but he has to still abstain from eating and drinking. So he says, يصح صوم الفرض بنية من النهار إذا لم يعلم وجوبه بالليل كما لو قامت البينة بالرؤية في أثناء النهار فإنه يمسك بقية يوم. And he would abstain the rest of the day. ولا يلزمه قضاء وإن كان قد أكل. He's saying, he's taking the opinion that he does not have to make up the day even if he ate. And the issue of abstaining from eating till the end of the day, this is another mas'ala, another issue about the sanctity of Ramadan, Hurmat Ramadan. Like for those who they had, and this also will come inshallah ta'ala, some people they have the permissibility to break their fast for a temporary reason. What if that reason stopped and they ate in the morning, right? And the reason why they broke their fast is gone. Can they just continue to eat the rest of the day? Of course, the day is not valid. Of course, they have to make up the day. There is no sin on them. But some said they should abstain from eating till the end of the day because of the sanctity of the month of Ramadan. Right? So this is what the issue of yumsiku baqiyat yawm. Although it doesn't matter because he already broke his fast in that day. يقول من وجب عليه الصوم نهارا كالمجنون يفيق والصبي يبلغ والكافر يسلم هؤلاء تجزيهم النية من النهار حين الوجوب ولو بعد أن أكلوا أو شربوا ولا قضاء عليه. Whoever the fasting becomes mandatory on him during the day, like an insane person, he become cured and he back to his senses during the day, right? Then all of a sudden, he was eating, he was majnoon, he was not mukallaf, So become mandatory for him during the day. Or the young boy, he reached the age of puberty during the day. Or the kafir becomes a Muslim during the day. So the kafir, if he becomes a Muslim during the day of Ramadan, then from that moment he has the intention of fasting, and he continues the day fasting, and he does not make up the day, even if they ate and drink, and there's no qada on them. واضح؟ من نوى الصوم ثم تسحر وغلبه النوم ولم يستيقظ إلا بعد غروب الشمس فصومه صحيح ولا قضاء عليه. Another mas'ala, he says whoever intends to fast and then he ate suhoor and then he was overpowered by sleep and he slept, did not wake up till after sunset. The whole day he slept till sunset. This happened. He said فصومه صحيح ولا قضاء عليه. He said his fasting is correct, is sound. He does not have to make up the day. We're not saying someone negligence and he doesn't care and he sleeps all day and he misses salah. We're just talking about this mas'ala only. Regardless, he's not a sinful person, right? This has happened. He was overcome by sleep. Why this is mentioned like this? Because the intention during the night is mandatory. So that's why he said ثُمَّ تَسَحَّرْ. He ate suhoor. That means he has the intentions to fast the next day. So his fast is valid even though he was sleeping the whole day. That's different than someone that slept before Maghrib, right? And woke up after Fajr. Slept before Maghrib and woke up before Fajr, after Fajr. That means no part of the night he was awake. That person, he has to make up that next day, because he was never awake any part during the night to have the intentions that he's fasting tomorrow. And that comes the issue of the differences of opinion, whether one intention is sufficient in the beginning of the month, or you have to have intentions every night. What's the outcome of these differences is this issue. If someone that happened to him, then he would have to make up that day. The next one يقول من نوى الإفطار أفطر لأن الصيام مركب من ركنين النية والإمساك عن المفطرات فإذا نوى الإفطار سقط الركن الأول وهو أساس الأعمال وأعظم مقومات العبادة وهو النية. Whoever intended to break his fast is broken. Even if he didn't eat anything. Because the siyam is made of two pillars. Niyyah, intentions, and abstaining from what breaks the fast. So if he intended to break his fast, then the first pillar, what's the meaning of a pillar? If it's gone, that means the ibadah is not valid anymore. It's the foundation of the deed, which is the intention. The same thing if a person is making salah, he's making salah with his intention. If all of a sudden in his salah, he intended that he's not making salah anymore, right? That means he's not making salah. So the intention is very important. So, but here we have to be careful that we differentiate between whispers of shaitan and niyyah. So if a person is debating with himself, he's sick, for example, or he's traveling, should I break my fast, should I not fast, like this, right? If it's just debating with oneself, not into the level of intent to fast, then the fast is valid. But once he intended to fast, to break his fast, that's it. He's breaking his fast. That means he's already, like for example, a person intended and he's going to eat, right? And then when he went to eat, there was no food in the fridge, right? And he says, okay, I take it back, too late, right? Because he already intended to break his fast. And he should first go check if everything is okay, and then, but if he intended like this, then it's too late for him. The day is missed. This is for all. No, for anything. For naf, good question. For naf, if it's still in the morning, he didn't eat anything till after Fajr. He did not eat anything after Fajr, and he intended to fast, right? But then he wanted to break his fast, and then he made the intentions that he's breaking his fast, then he took it back. If he didn't eat anything and it's still in the morning, yes, but he missed the reward from Fajr, or from the time that he intended, which is another thing. For the Siyamun Naf, if a person wants to fast the option of fasting, yes, you have all the way to Dhuhr to make intentions, as long as you don't eat anything after Fajr. But when does the reward starts of fasting? Is once you make the intentions. So it's better to make it early so that you get more rewards by more time of fasting, but still something is better than nothing. So breaking the intention breaks the fast.
Breaking the nafil does not have any sin.
Breaking the nafil has no sin. person fasting nafla prayer, he is amiru nafsi, he's in charge of his own self. He has the right to do whatever. من نام ليلة 30 من شعبان وقال إن كان غدا من رمضان فأنا صائم فتبين أنه رمضان فصوم صحيح. Still with the issue of the night and the day. In a case where a person, he slept the night of the 30th of Sha'ban. The ru'ya, the scene of the moon is not there yet, and he's too tired and he slept. And he says, if tomorrow is Ramadan, I'm fasting. He doesn't have to say that. In his heart, if tomorrow Ramadan, I'm already fasting, and if not, then I'm not fasting. And then the next day he woke up after Fajr, and it was Ramadan. His son was fasting. He's fasting that day because he had the intentions for it, even though it was conditioned. Okay? So this is with the intention, whether it's in the beginning of the month or every night, and the issue of sleeping and missing, and during the day, everything's clean. The next thing is the Siyam al-Kabiri wal-Marid. I'm not sure we have time briefly to mention this one. من أفطر لكبر أو مرض لا يرجى برؤه مقيما كان أو مسافرا أطعم عن كل يوم مسكينا ويكفيه ذلك عن الصيام فيصنع طعاما بعدد الأيام التي عليه ويدعو إليه المساكين وهو بالخيار إن شاء أطعم عن كل يوم بيوم وإن شاء أخره إلى آخر يوم وله أن يخرج عن كل يوم نصف صاع من طعام ويعطيه المسكين. Whoever breaks his fast because he's old in age or he's sick, a sickness that there's no hope of cure, a permanent sickness, whether he's traveling or not, then he has the right, of course, to break his fast. He has the excuse, but he has to feed for every day a poor person. Being in a very old age, he doesn't have to be sick. Some people, they make the old age with sickness. They say if an old man, he's not sick, he should fast. It depends. If he's old and he has what old people have, they have weaknesses by default because they're old, then they have the right to break their fast, they have the excuse to break their fast. Even if there's no specific sickness that he's in, but he's extremely old, his fasting gets him extremely tired and so on. So he would feed for every day a miskin. And what's sufficient for this is to fix food, either to fix food by the number of days that he broke his fast, like the whole month, for example. Then he would call the poor people and they would eat for every day miskin, so 30 poor people for a big feast and they eat once. Or he would feed every day, one day after another. Or if he will, he can wait till the end of the month and he can, instead of cooking food, to just to give nusf sa' for every day. Nusf sa' is something like less than a kilogram of food, right? So rice or something like this. So either he cook food, and if he cook food, that means it has to be a full meal for people to eat the full, or something to be saved, like rice or grains or something like this, for every day for that much of nusf sa', less than kilogram food for every day. The last point, من أصابه الخرف والتخليط فلا صيام عليه ولا كفارة لأنه مرفوع عن مقام. Whoever become insane, lose his mind and so on, there's no fasting on him, of course, and there's no kafar, there's no expiation. His parents, for example, they don't have to pay something for him. He doesn't, those who are guardian over him, they don't have to feed anything because he's not responsible for his actions.